Hey guys, welcome back. So today is day 2 for graphing linear inequalities. Now today's linear inequalities are not just going to be vertical and horizontal, there's going to be some diagonal ones. But before we do that, let's get some reminder on the symbols. Alright, so for the rules of graphing linear inequalities, the first one was less than or a greater than. Right? Is this going to be a dashed or solid line if you see these kind of symbols? Right? So these are dashed lines, so they're going to be open spaces in between them. All right, and if you have with the or equal to bar, greater or equal or less than or equal to, what does this mean? It means we have a solid line, and a solid line is just like a regular line. All right, now for A, I want you guys to go ahead. This is a review from yesterday, so go ahead and graph y is greater than 4. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, now for y is greater than 4, we know that this is a dashed line, and we're going to eventually graph a dashed line as soon as we know what points to plot, and we're going to use the xy chart to plot those points. Since its y is greater than 4, we're going to put 4s in the y columns, and then for the x columns, I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3. So here are my 3 points. We got 1, 4, 2, 4, and 3, 4, and there's my dashed line, like I said it was going to be in the first place because there is no or equal to bar. Now, if it says y is greater than 4, what that means is we got to use a test point. The test point is going to be, let's say 100. Is 100 greater than 4? The answer is yes. And since 100 is up like that, I'm going to shade the top part like this. Okay, so that's where we're going to shade. All right, now for the next one, go ahead and do this one on your own. Okay, now this one is a solid line because it does have an or equal to bar, and since we have x is less than or equal to 4, we're going to have 4s in the x column this time, and then we're going to have 1, 2, 3 in the y. Again, it doesn't matter what you pick for the y as long as they're not repeating. So we're going to go ahead and put those points in there. So we got 4, 1, 4, 2, and 4, 3. Again, this is going to be a solid line because there is an or equal to bar. And the test point that I can use for this one would be like negative 100, because negative 100 is less than or equal to 4. Negative 100 is on the left side this way, so I'm going to shade the left side. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like right there. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, now the solution of a linear inequality is the following. Let's go ahead and write this down. It is going to be a little bit long, so if you need to press pause, go ahead. It says an ordered pair xy is a solution of a linear inequality if the inequality is true when x and y are put into the linear inequality. All right, so again, if you need to press pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. We're going to start out by putting a, which is 0, 0 into the inequality. The inequality that we're talking about is this inequality right here. So I'm going to rewrite this inequality with parentheses. So you see we have an x and a y. The x is behind the 2, the y is behind the 3. This is in standard form because you can see it's ax plus by equals c. Now we're going to put parentheses for the x and the y. Now they want x to be 0 and they want y to be 0, so we put the zeros in there. 2 times 0 is just 0. Negative 3 times 0 is just 0. So that's going to get me 0 is greater than negative 2. Now, is 0 greater than negative 2? Well, since it is, we're going to say true. And what that means is the point 0, 0 is a solution to that equation or that inequality. Okay? The next point is 2, negative 1. So again, we're going to put we're going to put 2 parentheses minus 3 parentheses greater or equal to negative 2. And we're going to go ahead and put the 2 and the negative 1 in there. All right, go ahead and solve this. Tell me what you wind up getting. All right, so we get 4 minus 3 times negative 1 is just 3. So it's going to be 4 plus 3 is greater or equal to negative 2. That gets you 7 is greater or equal to negative 2. All right, now is this true? Yes, it's true. So that means that the point 2, negative 1 is a solution. All right, now for the last one, we're going to put negative 1, 2, and we're going to go ahead and write it with the parentheses, and then go ahead and put in negative 1 for the x and 2 for the y. Now let's go ahead and solve this. Go ahead and solve it. Tell me if it's a true or false statement. All right, so when we solve this, we wind up getting negative 2 minus 6. that gets me negative 8 is greater or equal to negative 2. And this is not true, so we're going to write false. And then we're going to go ahead and write down that negative 1 comma 2 is not a solution to the system. Let's go ahead and start graphing some linear inequalities. Let's go to the next slide. Press pause if you need to. All right, now for number 1, it says y is greater than 3x minus 6. Now what we have to do is we have to identify the slope and the y-intercept. We have to tell if it's a dashed or solid line, and then we're going to use a test point. Now I'll talk about that once we get to it. So first of all, we know that the slope is 3 because that's what's in front of x. We know that the y-intercept as an ordered pair is 0, negative 6. Okay, now we then have to identify if it's dashed or solid, so once we graph our line, we'll put a dashed or solid line. In this case, since there is no or equal to bar, that means that we're going to have a dashed line. So I'm going to go ahead and start out by plotting the point 0, negative 6, which is right there. The fact that we have a slope of 3 tells me that we have a slope of 3 over 1, all right, which tells me to go up 3 and then to the right 3 because they're both positive. So this is what it's going to look like. We're going to start out at negative 6, going to go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, and we can do it one more time, up 3 over 1, over to the right one. All right, again, we said it's a dashed line, so we're going to connect it as a dashed line. And now we're going to put a test point in. Now the equation we're going to use is the inequality that was given, y is greater or equal to 3x minus 6. Now I'm going to use the test point 0, 0 because it's easier to use that point. Now there will be times where you cannot use the point 0, 0. That's when the point 0, 0 is on the line. In this case, you can see that the point 0, 0 is not on the line, so we can use this one for this one, okay? So here's the equation, y is greater than 3x minus 6. We're going to go ahead and put in parentheses for the y and the x. Let's go ahead and put some zeros in there. We'll put 0 in for y, 0 in for x. This is going to get you 0 is greater than 0 minus 6, which means 0 is greater than negative 6. Is this true or false? Alright, since this is true, I'm going to explain exactly what we need to do, so pay very close attention. We're going to go ahead and look at that point we were talking about, which is the point 0, 0. Now, since the point 0, 0 is true, we're going to have to draw an arrow pointing towards 0, 0, which is towards the left of this graph. Okay? Now you're going to follow the arrow. Since the arrow is on the left side, you're going to graph the left side. Again, because that arrow is pointing towards the true side, that tells you to shade that side. Okay? Now here's number 2. We have y is greater than negative 1 over 2x plus 4. First of all, what is the slope? Okay, the slope is negative 1 over 2. Second of all, what is the y-intercept? Right, very good. The y-intercept is the point 0, 4. Remember, every y-intercept has an x that's 0. Now, is this a dashed or solid line? Okay, it is a dashed line. And we're going to go ahead and plot the point 0, 4, which is towards the top of this graph. And then this slope tells me to go down 1. Let me write that down. So negative 1 over 2 tells you to go down 1 and to the right 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2. Now the other thing that this could tell you to do is instead of going down, you can go up. Instead of going to the right, you can go to the left. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to go up 1 to the left 2, up 1 to the left 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw my dashed line. And now we're going to look for a test point. Now you can see that the point 0, 0 is not on that line. So we can use the test point 0, 0 as our test point. So we're going to go ahead and put that in y is greater than negative 1 over 2x plus 4. So go ahead and plug in 0, 0 and tell me if it's true or false. Alright, so when we plug in 0, 0, we're going to have 0 is greater than negative 1 over 2 times 0 plus 4. That 0 is greater than 0 plus 4, which means that 0 is greater than 4. Now I hope you picked false because it is false. 0 is not bigger than 4. Now, in number 1, we had a true statement. And you see how that arrow is pointing towards the point. Now, the fact that 0, 0 is a false statement, we have to draw an arrow away from it. So just think of it as false. Oh, I'm going to walk away because this guy's lying to me. He's false. All right, number one, the point 0, 0 was true. It's the truth, so I'm going to look towards it. False, it's a lie. I'm going to look away from it. Since the arrow is pointing upper, we're going to shade the upper side of this graph. And that's always how it's going to be. So you got your two cases. And number one, it's true, so we shade towards it. And number two, it's false, so we shade away from it. Okay? Let's go ahead and go to number 3. All right, now for number 3, what is the slope and the y-intercept? Go ahead and do that right now. Right, the slope is 2, the y-intercept is 0, -3. Okay, is this dashed or solid? Right, yes, it is solid. Now let's go ahead and graph this. We're going to start at 0, -3, which is right here. This slope tells me to go up 2 to the right 1, and I'm going to keep going till I can't go anymore. And then I can also go down 2 to the left 1. But there's my solid line anyway, and you can see it goes through that point. All right, so now go ahead and use the test point. Is 0, 0 a test point that you can use? Yes, it is a test point that we can use because 0, 0 is not on the graph. You can see right there, there's the point 0, 0. It's not on that line, so we can use it. So we can use the test point 0, 0, and we are going to plug it into the equation. Go ahead and do that and tell me if it's true or false. All right, so when we plug it in, we get 0 is greater than 0 minus 3. 0 is greater than -3. This is true. So go ahead and shade the side that's supposed to be shaded. All right, so since 0, 0 is true, the arrow should be pointing towards it. And because it's pointing towards it, we're going to shade that side. Okay? All right, now for number 4, we have y is less than 3x. Now, what is the slope and the y-intercept? Okay, so our slope is 3, and hopefully you notice that the y-intercept is 0 because the fact that we have nothing over here. We could say plus 0 so that we can say that plus 0 is the y-intercept, and that tells you that 0, 0 is the y-intercept. Okay, so now since the slope is 3, what that means is we can go 3 over 1, which means we can go up 3 to the right 1 or down 3 to the left 1. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So we have the point 0, 0, and this tells me to go up 3 over 1, up 3 over to the right 1, or we can go down 3 to the left 1, down 3 to the left 1. Now it is a dashed line, I already gave that away, but let's go ahead and graph this line. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so can we use the test point 0, 0 in this one? All right, so this time we cannot because 0, 0 is on the line. So if you look closely, the point 0, 0 is on this dashed line, so I cannot use it. It will not help me figure out what side to shade because it's not on one of the sides, it's on the line. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick a different point. Now the point that I'm going to use is the point -2, 0 because that is not on the line and it still has a 0 in it, so it's going to still kind of be easy to finding out if it's true or false. So now we're going to plot the points or plot the numbers in there. Now the y is 0, so I'm going to put that 0 in for the y. X is -2, so this is what it's going to look like. Is this true or false? All right, so if you multiply, you get 0 is less than -6. This is false. So we're going to find out what side to shade because of the fact that this is false. Okay, so go ahead and do that for me right now. Okay, so since this point is false, we're going to draw an arrow shading away from it, and then we're going to shade the side that the arrow is on, which is the right side this time. Okay, hopefully you guys got that. We're going to do some practice tomorrow. You guys have a good one.